talking about Thomas Brown, who really worked his way up the notoriety ladder, I guess I'll say, Fitzy. He went from an assistant to a play caller to interim head coach with the Bears this offseason, then was interviewing for head coaching jobs, including in Chicago. Now he arrives in New England as what I believe has been reported as tight ends coach, pass game coordinator under Mike Vrabel, and he joins on that coaching staff Doug Marrone. You might have heard of him, former Bills head coach, Jags head coach, longtime offensive line head coach. Most recently was with Billy O in a assistant type role at Boston College. So the Patriots coaching staff under Mike Vrabel now includes on the offensive side of the ball Josh McDaniels, Doug Marrone, and Thomas Brown. All three, for some period of time, have been NFL head coaches. It's the weirdest thing. This feels like the coaching staff they should have given Gerard Mayo a year ago when he was a first-time head coach and had no idea what he was doing.
Well, see, that's true. It's 100%. It's 100% why they did him dirty, and now we're hearing stories about more frustration behind the scenes and who did what. But it speaks to me that not only did they not give him a competent head coach, a competent coaching staff with people that were, experienced adults, veterans, if not champions in their respective positions in the room. Also Mike Vrabel is hiring the largest coaching staff in the history of time. Doug Marrone is like 6'6", 280 himself. It looks like they're going to be able to take the field with the coaches, let alone the players that Mike Vrabel's putting together.
You remember that comment, right? Whatever year it was, he's like, if it comes down to me fighting the other team's coach, I think we'll be okay. And I think he's putting a staff together that can handle its own if they ever change the rule and you can fight the other coaching staff.
That's what I'm saying. If it's 4th and 1 and they don't get that inch, you think Vrabel and Marrone and the boys aren't going to be ready to get out?
They'll kill him.
Oh, are you sure? Are you sure it was a yard short? Are you sure you don't want to go to replay?
Alonzo Highsmith can come down from the scouting booth. They do. You're right. The more you bring it up, they might have the biggest badass coaching staff and personnel department on the
planet. Staff of hosses. Absolute.
Better than the line they
behemoths.
have.
So I know. And meanwhile, somewhere Dan Campbell's like, I'll take them all on. It's fine. So the thing that they're doing is filling the room with adults. They're putting it. Every positional group is like someone who's experienced, someone who is trendy, someone who's a champion. And to me, this says last year that a lot of these people wouldn't have wanted to have come to the Patriots probably because they were giving a no confidence vote to Gerard Mayo, that they were unsure of what Mayo's team was going to be, just like the Calvin Ridleys and just like any other player that was like, I'll pass on going to the Patriots in free agency, thanks. Like Brandon Ayuk, no way. Now maybe with Drake May established, now with Mike Vrabel as head coach, I think a lot of these players would be more interested. And you're seeing this with the coaches as well. I think Mike Vrabel is a legitimate allure, and he makes the Patriots, I think he's as much the face of the Patriots now as quarterback Drake May is, maybe even more so, which is why you're watching this influx of experience and talent in the coaching department.
So on the surface, I love it. I love the idea that this is without a doubt the best offensive line coach they've had since Dante Scarnecchia. He can't hold Scar's jock, but let's just say they're a much better coached offensive line now.
But who can?
Yeah, nobody. Great point. Nobody. Literally nobody. And then you bring in Thomas Brown, who has a lot of experience, and we're just going to focus on the offense right here because these are the newest hires, but they've had some really nice hires on defensive side.
Solid hires.
My concern would be, and in the next couple segments, there's a couple thoughts I have that feel like Adam Jones has infiltrated my brain. I'm not going to lie. They're a little negative. And these intrusive thoughts I have on a couple things NFL related.
Perfect time.
Yeah, it's not great. I'm not going to lie, but hey, I got to be honest. I've always said I'm going to be honest, and I think about things. So Josh McDaniels, I love him. I think he's really successful. And as Mike Reese pointed out, I guess he's breaking new ground. He's the first coordinator, at least since like the 90s, to have a third stint with a team, blah, blah, blah. That's great. Is there any chance, though, because I don't believe he's worked with Thomas Brown, and I don't believe he has a relationship with Doug Marrone necessarily, is there any chance that these trio of strong-willed, authoritative, experienced guys butt heads and don't necessarily mesh immediately in terms of everybody seeing things McDaniel's way or the way it needs to be to work? Is that a possibility, or am I being over-negative?
Just because they haven't worked together before?
And just too many cooks in the kitchen. Like, I'm authoritative, he's authoritative, you're authoritative. Well, we all can't get what we want, right? There's going to be some give and take and who has to give and who gets to take kind of questions as that staff comes together. Is that Adam Jones-esque negativity, or is that a logical question to ask?
I think it's unnecessarily negative. Now, does the possibility exist? Sure. I mean, you can't rule that. Like, if you're putting together on the chalkboard like the equation for Patriots success, you do have to factor in some of these coaches perhaps not all jibing together or having similar coaching styles. If Mike Vrabel, and this will be one of his earliest challenges, in addition to having first hired these coaches and now setting about rebuilding the roster, if he's not able to get everyone in line with his clear vision for how the offseason should go, how roster building is going to go, how program and culture building is going to go, and how game day is going to go, then that's a Mike Vrabel problem, which ultimately becomes a Patriots problem. Guess what I don't think the Patriots are going to have? A Mike Vrabel problem. Because he strikes me as somebody who is a graduate cum laude of DGAF Academy, and he's going to tell you how he feels and what he wants whenever he feels like it, whenever he wants to.
And even though he has relationships with all of these guys, I think he'll have no problem putting them in their place, whatever place that may be. And I'm not saying there's a certain hierarchy or order or, one guy will always be right, one guy will always be wrong. Mm-hmm. But I do think that's where I feel like this will work, because generally speaking, over the years, when we talked about the good Belichick staffs, there were a lot of smart, authoritative guys on those staffs that I think all knew they worked for Bill Belichick, and they fell in line behind what Bill told them to do. And not that Mike Vrabel is Bill Belichick, but he's much closer to that authoritative figure than I think what you had here in New England last year. And I think he's not really going to take it. He'll tell whoever needs to shut the bleep up to shut the bleep up, right? Or, nope, it's not going your way this week. And I also think he'll be able to do that in a way that won't necessarily create animosity or ruin relationships or anything like that. I have a lot of faith in Mike Vrabel's ability to manage people, bust balls, promote people, pat them on the back, pat them on the butt, whatever is needed.
Can you be both like a hard-ass authoritarian figure and also a people person at the same time?
Dante Scarnecchia.
So he was both.
He was both. I've never seen anybody tear people down only to get them to be so loyal to him. And
to give them the hug that they needed after he absolutely ripped them a new one.
Absolutely. Or just tell them exactly what they really needed to do. It's a little like Bill, where, yeah, he may be really mean, but if you do what he says, you succeed and you win and the team wins, and you're like, okay, he was kind of mean, but what he says was right, and that makes me better at football. That'll make me some money. That'll lift, you know what I mean? The rising tide, even of negativity, if it's accurate, will lift all boats, and I think Mike Vrabel has that. 617-779-7937 here on WEEI Afternoons.